Hey guys! So today we're going to start the day 2 video of the digestive system. So you guys remember from last time that the digestive system is made up of many organs all working together to do these 3 tasks. The first thing is that they ingest food. So through your mouth, food comes in, and then once it's inside, that food begins to break down and become digested. So it goes from being something that is a piece of food to being molecules that your body can use. So we take one big thing and we break it down to the smallest pieces that they can be, which is their molecules. And then your body absorbs those molecules and uses them for energy and also to build any materials that they need. So for example, if you need to build muscle, you'll use the proteins that you extracted from your food to build up some muscle, right? And finally, after you've eaten and you've digested your food and you've absorbed the nutrients, anything left behind gets expelled from the body, right? So eliminating waste, everything gets removed. So the last time we talked about the mouth and the esophagus, and we talked about mechanical and chemical digestion. You guys remember that the mouth mechanically digests food by chewing it, and it chemically digests sugars through the use of an enzyme called amylase. So amylase breaks down sugars into simpler sugars which your body can use more easily, right? So it takes starches and turns them into sugars. And then we talked about the esophagus, how the esophagus is a tube which leads from the mouth down to the stomach, and it contracts and relaxes the muscles inside through a process called peristalsis. This peristalsis also mechanically digests the food as it brings it from the mouth down to the stomach. So today we're going to be talking mainly about the stomach. But before we get to that, we need to talk about a very important feature found in your throat, which actually is very important when it comes to swallowing your food. So you guys are aware that you can breathe through your mouth and your nose, right? Because air is able to go in through here or through here and go into your trachea. Now your trachea is a tube which goes into your lungs. So oxygen can go into your lungs, and then carbon dioxide can leave your lungs through this tube right here. Now it just so happens that this tube is right next to your esophagus. So what is stopping food from going into your lungs? Well, it's this little flap of skin or something called the epiglottis. The epiglottis's job is to stop food from going into your lungs, okay? So this is a very important piece, and if there's ever a problem with this, you might end up getting some food or water into your lungs and you might end up choking. So I just want to show you guys real quick what this would look like. So this little flap right here is your epiglottis. You can see that normally when you're breathing, air moves in and out of your trachea, which is your airway. And then when you swallow, see what happens? As you begin to swallow, as the food goes down, the epiglottis covers the trachea, it covers the airway, and it causes food to go into your esophagus instead, which is very, very important. If this doesn't happen, food might go down your airway, and this will cause you to begin to choke. So if you've ever been laughing while you were eating or talking while you were eating, maybe this didn't cover your trachea, and the food might have gone down and you would have started choking. Sometimes just a little bit of coughing will get the food out, but sometimes you might have to perform like a Heimlich maneuver to push large quantities of food out of your airway. So that would be like a severe choking situation. But choking happens when your epiglottis doesn't properly cover your airway and food or water accidentally go down the wrong tube, right? So just remember, it has a very important function, and without it, you would have no way of getting air into your trachea and food into your esophagus because the tubes are right next to each other. All right, so that's the function of your epiglottis. Now we're going to get to the stomach. So as you guys remember, the stomach is obviously also involved in digesting your food. Now, in your stomach, you will perform mechanical and chemical digestion. So your stomach, just like your esophagus, continues to undergo peristalsis. Peristalsis continues to contract and relax your muscle, and it squeezes the food all over the place to make it to break it down into smaller pieces mechanically, right? So this is physical digestion through peristalsis. But inside your stomach, you also have two very important things in there. So you have acids like hydrochloric acid, which are released by cells that line your stomach, and you also have an enzyme called pepsin. The job of pepsin is to break down proteins into amino acids. You guys probably remember from previous lessons that proteins are made up of a long string of amino acids. So once you've broken down these proteins into amino acids, you can use those amino acids to build the proteins in your body, right? And the acidity of the stomach is very, very important. This is actually because acid, you guys know that if you drop acid on your skin, it'll start to burn, right? This acid also protects your body from bacteria, because if there's bacteria on your food and you swallow it, this acid will break down that bacteria and kill it so that it doesn't infect you even further. Now, if the bacteria can survive the stomach acid, then it has a chance of infecting you. But most bacteria and viruses will be broken down just by the stomach acid, right? Because this is a very harsh environment inside of your stomach. Yeah. Anyway, so guys, how about we just take a quick look at what this would end up looking like? So, food leaves your esophagus and it enters your stomach. Once it's in your stomach will begin to release acid. This acid will help to break down this food into smaller and smaller pieces. These are also known as digestive juices because it's made up of more than just acid. It's also made up of enzymes. And then, if you want to go a little bit closer, you can see that the hydrochloric acid can kill the bacteria. And when you go closer, you can see this right here is a protein, and it's about to be attacked by the enzyme called pepsin. Pepsin is the enzyme which breaks down proteins. Now look at what happens when pepsin comes and attacks this protein. It will break it down into amino acids. So it took a big protein and it broke it down into smaller pieces which our body can use. So we start with the acid breaking down big chunks of food into smaller ones, and then we go directly to the proteins, and with pepsin, which is the enzyme, it breaks down those proteins into amino acids, which our body can finally use, right? And now I want to show you guys what it looks like inside the stomach. So there's all of these juices in here, which are used to break down all of your food. Mainly you're breaking down protein in your stomach. Remember, in the mouth, we're usually breaking down starches into sugars. In the stomach, we're breaking down proteins into amino acids. Now, if you guys can see how the stomach is continuing to move the food around and squeeze it and crush it into smaller pieces. This is also peristalsis at work, where the muscles are just contracting and relaxing and contracting and relaxing and causing the food to be broken down further and mixing it up with the stomach acids to allow more of the digestive juices to meet up with the stomach acid. And then, of course, once it's done being digested, it leaves the stomach. All right, so you guys, the takeaway from this is in your stomach, you have mechanical digestion, where peristalsis squeezes your food and moves it around and allows your digestive juices to actually mix with it. And your chemical digestion is caused by acids breaking down your food and an enzyme called pepsin, which breaks down proteins into amino acids. All right. And then you guys, once all of this food is digested, it will be moved out of the stomach into the small intestine. Now this digested food is now known as chyme. That's how you pronounce this word, not chime, it's chyme. Chyme will leave your stomach, go into your small intestine, and it will begin the real process. Really, most of digestion and the absorption of nutrients happens in the small intestine. The small intestine is like the powerhouse of the digestive system. All right. And now let's just talk about one disease of the stomach. So you guys know that the stomach is made up of protein. It's made up of meat, just like every other part of your body. And inside of your stomach, you have digestive enzymes and acid whose main job is to break down proteins. So what is stopping the acid in your stomach from destroying your stomach completely? Because remember, the acid and the protein in your stomach is obviously capable of digesting your entire stomach and your entire body. So the only thing standing between this acid and the lining of your stomach is a layer of mucus. This layer of mucus is what protects your stomach lining and prevents it from being digested by your own digestive juices. So every once in a while, somebody will have symptoms or an ulcer. An ulcer basically means that there has been a problem in your mucus lining, the mucus lining disappeared, and the stomach acid and digestive juices and the enzymes began to break down the lining of your stomach. So you might end up having blood in your stomach if it got that bad, or you might even have a whole hole in your stomach, which might have to be surgically sewed up. And there's a lot of different ways that doctors can now deal with this problem. But in the past, people used to believe that ulcers were caused by stress. But of course, that's not true. It has been discovered that ulcers are actually caused by bacteria H. pylori. You don't necessarily need to know the name of that bacteria, but it's a specific bacteria. It goes in and it destroys the mucus lining of your stomach. And once this mucus is gone, the digestive juices can start to destroy the proteins of the stomach and it will start to digest it. And if this problem is not resolved quickly enough, you could end up having severe damage to your stomach lining. All right, guys, so now I hope you enjoyed that video. You can go ahead and watch and do your quiz. Good luck.